Hello, 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 crossroads, witches and other interesting magical beings. See, we got a split screen today. I went and found me Miss Savannah, that witch up at the Holler. She
Hey
does
y'all.
you do TikTok content.
Yes.
And I have watched a couple of hers, and I was just, you keep it real, it's refreshing, it's good, down to earth, practical folk magic.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I was just like, I have got to bring her in on this. As you can tell by the video, hashtag occult tea is a list of questions that's been going around content creators on different platforms where we all are answering the same question. So you can watch a series of these videos and get a different perspective and also a little more understanding about different content creators. I want to start by giving thanks to the original creators, the OGs of this, in which are Ella Harrison, the redheaded witch, and the Polish witch. And you will see them down in the descriptors where you can go back and watch them. You can also do the hashtag occult tea, and that will bring up other videos in which have participated in this. Please go watch them all. We have got some great content creators out there. And with that said, it was a mouthful. Thank you for being so polite, sitting there listening to me, Savannah.
Of course.
We're gonna I'm gonna got my questions printed out and I'll read them out loud. And you can go ahead and respond first to them, and then
Okay.
I'll give my response as well. All right. Topic one is impact on the community. What is my personal reasoning, inspiration behind sharing my practice online?
Okay. Excuse me. So for me, I came out of a very high demand religion, um, and took a breather and instantly, not instantly, because I took a breather. I discovered's not even the right word. I discovered that a lot of the practices, a lot of the beliefs and things that I had grown up listening to from my grandparents were actually considered witchcraft by some, and that there was this whole thing called Appalachian folk magic. And I was like, wait a second. So I started reading some books, and I was like, the whole time? Like the whole time? This was what are you talking about? This was magic the whole time. And I kind of very, very rapidly just dug in to folk magic, and it just kind of evolved from there. And because I had been in such a high demand religion previously, it was very empowering for me to be vocal and to share what I was doing now and where my life had gone, because I was always a very vocal person, just, sometimes for the wrong things. And changing that up and just putting myself out there and hopefully being able to inspire others on their deconstruction journey, or who are, in those beginning phases of deconstruction and looking into witchcraft and seeing that, yes, like there are pieces of yourself that you can keep and still move away from the super like toxic, controlling religion that you're coming out of. So it's very important for me, not only to empower myself, but to hopefully empower and inspire other people too.
I'm just sitting here like, oh my goodness, on that. Because I love that. That's such a beautiful story. Whereas I think you're like, my answer to this question, what is my personal reason, inspiration behind sharing my practice online, is completely different than yours. And this is where I also think age plays into it. I had already been in community, go I'm not going to tell how, like, almost now for me 40 years. I came online in 2019 because I wrote a book, and I was told, if you're going to write this book, you need to have a presence.
Mhm.
I was in Florence, South Carolina, working in a cute little local botanica, low country conjure, low country magic, hoodoo was around me every day. We didn't use a lot of those words like you're saying. Everybody was doing a little something, something.
Yeah.
And nobody was really, it was just normal. And I wrote Hoodoo in the Psalms because my own grandmother was a faith healer, so I was exposed to that. Whereas I was not as involved in the organization as you were. I like, I went to church camp and
Yeah.
went and visited grandma for the summer. So I had a different perspective with you, where I didn't have that heavy deconstruction that I had to do within myself. And I started putting on the pointy black hat at a young age and everything. But online for me came at 2019. I've been online for 5 years now, and I'm having a blast. Like what you were saying, I was like, who knew all these people were out here?
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, was where I was at. All right. So next question. We got to move on. We have a list. We'll have to reach a point. We'll have to do part 2. All right. What am I looking to achieve by participating? Do I seek to educate, learn, or connect?
For me, it's a little, probably just a little bit of all of it. I'm not hardcore on any like one thing. I really enjoy learning. Um, I've learned that there's got to be a whole lot of discernment that goes into learning anything online. Um, I
Eyes
really
wide
enjoy some of
open.
the connection with most of the online community. And a lot of people look to me for education, and I offer just little bits and pieces because I don't feel like super secure in, I don't feel like an authority, like I have a following. That doesn't mean I am an authority on anything. But I'm happy to share what I do know.
Oh, how brilliant. I love the perspective that you're keeping with that. Very much so, because I feel the same way, where it's talking about educate, learn, or connect. And I'm like, all.
Yeah.
I'm not so, like I said, educate. I truly believe I cannot teach you your magic. I can
Mhm.
inspire you to find your magic. I can
Yeah,
encourage you. But ultimately, you got to figure out what's going on up in here.
definitely.
Um, and at the same time, I feel that, I've been inspired too, where I watch some content creator and I'll be like, damn, I never thought about it like that. And it
Yeah,
and that opportunity to meditate on it, marinate in it for a little. I feel like it's a equal give and take.
definitely, definitely.
All right. How do I believe social media as a whole has impacted the community?
So
I
I
would
don't have a
ass-
lot of perspective on that.
I would assume they're talking the magical community at
Yeah,
large is
yeah,
first. Let me define community, because neither of us are really like part of the pagan, neo-pagan community. And
right.
so we would lose perspective there. And so I just say, let's just say magical community at large. How do we think social media has affected the magical community at large? Do you have a sense of magical community pre-social media?
I don't, because I mean, social media started in, I don't know, the early 2000s when I was just a kid and I couldn't even
Right.
be online. I came into social media. It's always
Always.
been there for me. So I don't really have a perspective outside of any world without social media.
I'm part of those old timers. One day I'm gonna die and they'll be like, and there's the last one that remembers before the matrix was turned on. Um, I had already been involved in community, gone to gatherings, part of a coven. Um, wrote a complete book before I ever considered the concept of social media. Um, I think social media I can only give my perspective and my own personal experiences as an older witch coming online and pressing the button and being like, oh my God, look at all those people. It has been a mixed bag of nuts.
Yeah.
Uh, I love, you said the word earlier, discernment.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely eyes wide open. I'm grateful that I came online as an older witch with more of a been there, done that attitude.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still greatly inspired. I love all you young folk. I'm just so proud of y'all. I'm like, get out there. We need the next generation to speak up. We spoke up our way, and
Yeah.
y'all are speaking up your way. All right. We had meetings in the back of book clubs, meetings in the little room around the corner at the library, meetings in somebody's garage. If you're lucky, you got the living room. I mean, seriously, I remember that. I remember driving 150 miles just to read a freaking book.
Wow.
All right. The internet did not occur to me until in my mid 30s. I had lived a life, rode my bike, never had cell phones, you know, and I appreciate that world because sometimes the journey is part of the magic. And we lived in a slower paced world that allowed you to truly appreciate the journey. But I love the fact that Amazon has 2-day shipping.
For sure.
You know, how do I think social media platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube have impacted, educated, or sharing information in our community? Again, you don't have a perspective of not sharing.
That's true. That's true. I will say though, gosh, back to like discernment. I heard a tip once that was for every like piece of information you hear online, make sure you can back that up with at least 2 written sources. And so anything I hear online, if it's not resonating, I'm gonna go look that up. I'm gonna go seek out what were y'all doing before we started just, getting in our own little echo chambers? What was common practice, before this?
Cite your sources.
Yep.
And cite the cited source.
Yep.
We have access to some great academia out there now. We have opportunities to get up onto university publications to read, actual dissertations on so many subject matters, and to definitely go read it for yourself, see it with your own eyes, and then sort of poke it a little to make sure.
Yes.
Because I think that is the biggest. I agree with what you're saying. Is that the echo chambers
Mm-hmm.
is
They can be brutal. They can be brutal, and just sometimes it just seems like they're just wrong. I'm like, I don't know, guys. I don't know about this. Like this, I know we're all jumping onto this one thing right now, but like that just doesn't feel right. And then I just keep my mouth shut in
yeah.
those cases. I'm like, I'll just let it go.
I don't. I don't. I do predominantly YouTube. For me, is where my long format's at. My TikToks are just little wisdom quips that I come up with that amuse me. And if I'm not amused by it, then I'm not doing it. I have a very, I guess, I don't know. I just don't, as an older witch, I've learned the let 'em philosophy, let 'em be. I don't get involved.
Yep.
If I sniff drama, I'm out of there.
Yes.
I'm like, no. On it. All right. Is consuming witchcraft content becoming a substitute for practice?
Ooh. I mean, because I don't know a whole lot of other witches in my like real personal day-to-day life, I guess I can't totally say. But I have to imagine that being chronically online is probably going to hinder you from actually being in the dirt and practicing. Um, if we're just posting about it and just looking at it, I mean, that's not the same as doing it, in my opinion.
I think this is a question about balance.
Yeah.
Uh, yes, and watch TikToks. And at the same time, make sure that you, like you said, you're still digging in the dirt.
Yeah.
You don't have to give up. You just need to keep it in balance with
Yeah.
your own personal realities. And what's truly important are, now if you're using TikTok to avoid doing shit you got to get
Yeah.
done,
That's a problem.
that's unhealthy. All right. But I'd also, for a lot of the closet practitioners, they do to a degree live vivaciously through content creators because you can create things they can't. And there is a shared energy of some sort going on there. We're getting into like matrix talk here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there is something happening. We're starting to just now understand parasocial relationships. And as content creators, how we deal with a parasocial relationship, folks, is you done watched all of our videos, you done watched all of our TikToks, you know far more about us.
Yep.
And you walk up into our personal space and start talking intimately to us.
Yes.
It freaks us out because
it is unnerving.
Don't know you. All right. Yes, we would like to know you. Okay. It's not that we don't want to, but you have some come up. Unnerving is an understatement. I just like, oh no, back away.
Yeah.
Give me a second.
I get DMs sometimes and I'm like, whoa, that was a lot, friend. That was a lot. Like, I know, like you do, I know you feel like you know me like that, but like, I don't know you. It's not even in a mean way. It's just like, I don't have the mental capacity for, 250,000
you can't
intimate people. Like, it's a lot.
You can't. As a content creator, you do need to have a good circle of folks around you, and to keep those folks close by. But I agree with you. Beyond that circle, you've got to be careful because all your energy will get sucked out of you. I mean, if you gave everybody a little piece of it, there'd be nothing left.
Yep.
And you're like, no. I know that I get some personal stuff that I'm like, I don't want to know that.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, you don't know me. Do you really want my advice?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm wondering, who else did you send this message to? All right. Here's the next question. Out of what I share on social media, how much of it is staged versus reality?
Well, everything that I share from my practice is stuff that I do in my practice. I by no means share the totality of my practice. I wouldn't even say I share the majority of my practice. You get a small little sliver that I feel like is good to share with the general population, but it's deeply personal. It's between me and the cosmos, I will, if I want to show something specifically, then I will, to an extent, stage, I guess. I mean, I'm actually doing it for you, but of course, there's an element of the ritual that is taken away because I have to also record it, and I might mess something up while I'm recording, and
Right. Well, I'm questioning when they're saying, is it staged? Do they mean like a theater character persona?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, they're very well made. There
I mean,
probably are plenty of just this is my my persona.
Right, right,
But
where
no,
I'm like,
but yeah, no, no.
versus reality. I know that
Yeah.
because like I've had where I've purposely done videos where I've just taken a shower, I have no makeup on, I haven't
Mhm.
curled my hair, and where it's for me, it's about keeping it real.
Yeah.
Or even I feel like sometimes you got to take the lipstick off and keep it real.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier on my Tiki Talks, those are all staged because they're little quips. I'll hear
Hmm.
something or I say something out loud and people laugh, and I'm gonna make a TikTok video. That's
Yeah.
actually how my TikTok started. I'll be like, I'm gonna make a TikTok video about this. And I sit there and I sit it up and I make sure, that my
Yeah.
hair.
Yeah.
So I think my TikToks are all completely staged.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Uh,
fair. That's fair.
and
You
but
can't, I mean, you have to stage.
and
Unless you're legitimately just setting up your camera and then going and doing a thing and then like you're still gonna edit it afterwards.
right,
Oh.
and even like I said, when you still sit down and your back shots and
Hmm.
your camera, so it's all staged. If you're doing, unless you're doing some Big Brother secret 24/7 camera and we're
Yeah.
watching you,
Yeah.
on some level it all is my answer on that one. Oh no, this is a good question. Do you think there is an element of censorship in online spaces? How do you decipher what is appropriate to share online versus what to keep private? Is this based on social media etiquette or personal preference? Which part of you already announced in the last question?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. There's absolutely some censorship going on. Both from outside sources and like just censoring yourself. If you're being wise, you are censoring yourself.
You have the
I
algorithm.
Yeah.
As a
Yeah.
content creator, there are certain words you're like, you don't say that out loud. Don't say
Not
that word.
saying that, not
Don't
doing
ever
that
say that
specific
word out loud.
motion. Yeah.
You don't
Yeah,
you don't do those
for
things.
sure.
And so yeah, we pay attention to the algorithm, but I know like I have public altars I'll take pictures of, post them everywhere. Now that I've learned about more social media, I'll be like, ooh, I'm gonna post this. um some of my private spaces, my private workings, some
Hmm.
other spaces, like you were saying, I'm not ready to share those. I'm not going to
No.
say not never, but I said right now, I'm not ready to share. And I'm
Right.
good with that. And I think that's where, for some content creators, they do that line of yes, no, maybe. Should I take a picture of this?
Now I came across what I'm assuming was probably a newer witch, and she was like showing off all the wards she just set. I was like, oh no. Like, don't probably don't do that. Like that's like obviously I'm not going to tell you every single way that I have protected myself or why that would not benefit me in any way if you
Well,
know exactly what it is.
yes, that's why I'm like, no, I'm not going to tell you what's in the bowl.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to sprinkle it across the door. We're all going to act like you didn't see me do that. We don't need to discuss it.
No.
And I agree with what and that line of here, let me show a protection ward.
Hmm.
Here is a protection ward that I do use,
Yeah.
but it is by no means the only one, my exclusive, and I'm showing you an active ward that I've got going on.
Yeah. And you're probably not going to get every single, like I do show, I show a lot of folk magic is a whole lot of protection.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what we've always needed was to protect yourself. So I have no problem showing, yeah, generation to generation, we've passed these things down. But I might not show you the very specific little details. I'm just going to give you a general idea and you run with that.
Right.
I'm not going to
And
tell you every single word that I say out loud. I'm not, my incantations, my sigils for my family are my own. Make up your own. Here's how you do that.
right. I think sometimes people, they're like, why isn't she telling me?
Yeah.
No, where this instant press that in 30 seconds later, here's all the information that you have. And like I said, take your own journey, get your own connections, create your own sigils that you too can pass down in your own family.
Yeah.
All right. This ain't about taking other folks' stuff.
Right.
And understanding that you are taking other folks' stuff. I don't care how you qualify it or justify it or everything else. No. That's what practices aren't so much closed as they are protected when you're into folk magic, where, I let people like, oh, is it a closed practice? Not really. It's a protected practice.
Right.
We love to sit on a porch and tell you everything. But at the same time, there are things that we're like, we're going to leave you the breadcrumbs so you can go find your own. All right. I'm talking to you. All right. Okay. So where we were at, this is another. Have you ever encountered or heard of grifters in our community? Do you recognize them? What are the significant signs of grifters in community?
Oh, definitely. Oh my gosh. I mean, TikTok is rife.
You're from a whole different. Can I tell a little story? I want to interrupt.
Yes.
I know you said you do, but I want to start with something I thought of when I read this question to begin with. There's a Metacythenian tablet of a priest complaining about the grifters, the fakes, and the frauds. All right. So they dealt with it back then. All right. John D. Elizabeth I, Queen Elizabeth I, she had a seer, an astrologer who was always by her side. He's credited with helping to turn back the Spanish Armada. We have many of John D's letters. In it, he's complaining about the frauds and the fakes. Now, just to take it to the dark side a little bit, Aleister Crowley, we all know the beast. We also have many of his letters. Do y'all want to guess what he was complaining about? All right. I don't think there's more than, I think they've always been there, but they're more visible in some spaces.
Definitely.
Where now I don't think the community, I think the majority of the folks in the community are good people. But we definitely have that frothy, yucky on top. You almost got to get through to get to the good stuff. To really what you discernment, eyes wide open, and understanding their connections in the whatever community they're either saying they're a part of, or start, when they start with their information, it's easy enough in today's world to back it up. You got anything to add to all of that spew?
Lord, for like TikTok specifically, if you are ever getting a message out of the blue from a creator, it's not that creator. It's literally just a grifter. And they steal all of our content. They repost it on these shell accounts, and then they just cold message our followers like crazy. And people fall for it. I have had people send these accounts those fake accounts, hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I'm like, oh my gosh, please stop. So yeah, they have always been around. They have more of an opportunity to prey upon people.
I know it happens also on Instagram.
It does.
And everything. YouTube is not so much of a place. And then on Facebook, they'll go make, I've had it happen to me, I think on a much smaller scale than what you've had happen to you, where the general rule of thumb is no content creator on any platform is reaching out to people. No one in the magic community is doing it.
Nope.
All right. If it happens to you, press delete, block, report.
And also, you don't have to tell us about it. We know. It's
Oh,
all
and
good.
don't, yeah, don't. They like to send a really long
Yeah.
email or a long DM to you when they finally tell you at the bottom, you're like, thank you so much for the 50th time,
Today.
and that no, that's not what's happening. Unfortunately, it is what it is. It's back to those discernment. It's back to eyes wide open. All right. We do have so many good folks in the magic community at
Absolutely.
large. All right. And they're easy enough to sort of pay attention to verify, and you will, but just because you were selected.
Nobody's calling you beloved. It's
All
not
right.
happening.
You have to decide, do you select them? And that even goes back to if you show up to a group in person and they turn and look at you and they're like, you've been selected. All right, odds are you're standing in front of a cult. Just
Yeah.
saying. You
Yeah.
got a high statistical percentage for this phraseology to be some sort of fraud, some sort of fake, some sort of something ain't right.
Yep.
All right. Even in the magic community in person. All right. We do not recruit, we do not reach out, we do not select. And when you show up to anything, remember you have the right to refuse, to look at that group, to look at that situation and be like, yeah, this ain't for me. I've heard so many people talk about that. Oh, I had red flags, but.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, honey, you done.
No, but
You have done, and that's what it's about. Keep your eyes wide open when you're out there, witches. All right. There's good folk, but you're going to have to get through that frog. All right. And I'll keep talking and we're going to have a 2-hour video. Y'all stick with us. That's all I'm saying. Stick with us. All right. All right. Oh, you'll like this one. How does a large following impact the perception of a creator? Does this immediately make them an expert? Or are there other assumptions as to why they have a large following?
Well, I mean, I have a decent following. I by no means consider myself an expert on anything. I don't think I'm old enough to be an expert on anything yet. Give me at least another couple decades before I'll call myself an expert. I do think there is a danger to assuming that just because somebody has a large following, that they know exactly what they are talking about at all times. We're human, like we're still human, and we are gonna make mistakes. We're gonna say things the wrong way, and sometimes we might not fully know what we're talking about. We are just rambling on. I will fully admit that. Like sometimes I just need to like get some things out. That doesn't mean that I am an authority on what I'm saying. I just want to work through it. And I have this massive amount of people to work through it with me, and that's kind of cool. Yeah, no, just I got lucky. I got lucky with the algorithm a couple of times, and people liked it and they stuck around. That does not mean that I am an expert on anything. I will share what I do know. But that doesn't mean I have it all figured out.
I love where, because I feel so much the same way of I got lucky. And that understanding, first of all, it asks, how does having a large following? I think that's a matter of perception. All right. For some people, 1,000 people is a large following.
No, for sure.
All right. I know when I got on, YouTube and I had like 100 subscribers, I was like, I am done. Look what I look. And I was I didn't go into it with the idea that a million, subscribers was, or you have to, have
Mm-hmm.
80,000 subscribers, and on YouTube, TikTok, they get up into the 2, 3 million.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's your own personal perspective of that bar.
Mm-hmm.
And if and as you do have, what's perceived as a large following around you, at the same time keeping it real, like you're saying, you're like, hey, I mean, I'm an older witch who, yeah, I've been there, done that, but I'm like the poster witch for bad choices make good stories. I'm not going to say I'm an expert. I'll tell you what I know. I'll tell you the sources I'm drawing it from. That's and my attitude a lot of times is what, when I learn better, when I know better, then I'll do better.
Yep.
I'm a work in progress. All right. I turned 60 a couple months ago. I'm still a freaking work in progress. I hope to be until my last breath because it means I'm staying in the moment. All right. So, next question. How does one maintain the balance of authenticity and content creation?
Mm. Um, very carefully. It can be really difficult. It can be really difficult because I mean you hit these periods of time where it's just like, oh my God, like I just need to breathe. Um,
Right.
but I know that I have this thing going, so still have to put something out. And it's not that it's inauthentic, it's just more my stuff might be a little more careful. I might stay on the safe side with what I'm putting out. Um, because I don't sometimes I just don't want a video to blow up. Like I feel like I have to post, but I just really don't want to deal with the incoming, whatever I'm gonna get from it. Um, and it's such a new job, like content creation. It's such a new thing that we're still figuring that out. We're still figuring out how to be real people online and real people in real life, and it's very, very tricky. I mean, you don't get the full Savannah on TikTok. I can't give you that. I'm not willing to give my full self to the internet. Um, I don't think that makes it inauthentic. It just means you're getting this one authentic piece of me, but maybe not this authentic piece of me.
Oh, I love that analogy, Savannah. That is just brilliant because you're absolutely. I think that's true of all content creators. You're getting this one piece of us, and that, as you said, content creation is still a whole new territory. And for older folks like me, I'm like, what does that button do? You know, where I have no idea. And and trying to balance our personal lives
Mm-hmm.
and still, because I have reached a point where I'm like, oh God, I have to feed the monster.
Yeah.
All
It
right.
gets that way. It gets that way. And sometimes it's such a task. It's such a
And
task. And you have to put something out. But like, ugh.
with the sweet comes the sour.
Yep.
You've got to work for it. It isn't easy. It is something that we stay with, and everything. You have far more than what I have, except I've only been doing this since 2019. So I'm like, we'll see what that button does. I'll do this. I'm enjoying it and trying not to put pressure on myself over it, but at the same time, yes, we have to feed the monster. Okay, let's see. Oh, when you follow other creators in the community space, does it make you feel genuinely inspired and empowered, or does it create feelings of FOMO or being less than? Are
Um,
you inspired or jealous? Is that what it's asking us?
I think so. I more
Yeah.
like, are you comparing yourself too much? I think is at the heart of it. Um, for me, I think it depends on the creator. It depends on it's just human. Like it's not a black or white thing. There's nuance there. I mean, for the most part, I follow somebody because they are inspiring. Now, will I look at somebody, another creator that's my age and has a bigger following than me and has no children and just lives this magical life and all they do, it looks like all they do is magic all the time and they're not wiping butts and finding shoes and sitting in the parent pickup line. And I'm like, damn. Like yeah, I might feel a little jealous. I might feel like, wow, they're going to be way ahead of me, but like I've take a step back. That's not my path. This is my path. This is my life. This is how we're doing things, and that's fine. I think you just have to find balance. And if you find yourself like getting in more of a negative headspace with any certain creator, just unfollow them.
Yes, isn't that the truth right there? You just dropped some serious wisdom right there. You don't have to participate.
No, it's not required.
That's the greatest thing I found out about the internet. I love block, delete,
Yes.
report,
Yep.
just leave the room, honey, is what, I, as an older one, which coming onto the scene and everything, inspired, like I said, I love some of the stuff I see some of the younger creators doing. I think it's great. I love it. Um, no, no sense of fear of missing out. I don't, my brain, like you were talking, the cute young witch with no kids running
Mm-hmm.
through the field of flowers with
Yeah.
her hat. Um, Pretty is what I think, not my life. And I'm just like, oh, isn't that pretty? I don't get too deep on it. We can't.
No. It'll
Uh,
kill you. It'll kill you.
there's enough room for all the flavors. Let's celebrate
Yes.
them. Okay, let's see. Oh, well, this is the same almost. When practicing my craft, do I find myself comparing what I do to what I've seen other people do online?
I don't I don't really compare my craft to anything I see online. I'll draw inspiration from it, but then I very quickly am going to turn that into my own personal thing and do what's going to work best for me, use what I have surrounding me on the land because my practice it's folk magic. It's very land based. So no
Right.
matter what land I'm on, I want to work with the land that I'm on. So I'm constantly tweaking everything. I don't follow
Well, different
anybody's,
seasons
you know.
as well.
Yeah.
It is because it's like what's on the land in the spring is not on the land
Right.
in the fall.
But
And
there's something else. There will be something else that will fill that specific, need or correspondence that you need. You just get
yes,
outside and look for it.
no, I don't compare myself. I'm like you. I'm like, no, I don't compare myself to others because you're not standing in my backyard.
Yeah.
When you get in my backyard, I might start asking you and seeing what you're doing. Um, in what ways do you combat imposter syndrome?
Oh, I'm really bad. It probably is an age thing. I'm still in my 20s. So imposter syndrome, fear of missing out is all it's all prevalent. Like it's all there. I have to just step away. I have to I'll turn everything off and just like sit with myself and refine myself. Like, okay, no, this is you. This is fine. You are allowed to say that online because like it's the truth. Um, I've only been doing this online, like the content creation for less than a year.
Oh my goodness, Savannah. Good for you, sweet. Good for
So
you.
I find myself comparing, I do find myself comparing myself, not only like in the magical community, but I'm also, I'm in both the magic community and the paranormal community. And I
Right.
find myself comparing so hard, to other like large paranormal creators that I like aspire to be. And I'm like, oh, I should be there by now. I'm like, you just started this like last July. Chill out. Like they've been at this since the beginning of TikTok. It's cool. You're fine. You're fine. Um, you just got to keep checking in with yourself and like beating yourself upside the head and like, dude, chill. Like just chill. Like you're fine. Everything's fine.
Everybody's going to take the path that they need to take.
Yep.
And we got to be mindful because you are right. Sometimes it is hard. You're looking at, on TikTok, you guys deal with much higher numbers than what we do on YouTube. So we look and we see somebody who's got 80,000, who has 120,000. And then, versus somebody who has been online for a very long time and has just hit 2,000,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And somehow we want to think that, oh, because they have better numbers, somehow they're more valid than that person
Right.
that has a low number on it.
Right.
And that's sad. And that's on us as individuals, back to
Mm-hmm.
discernment.
Mm-hmm.
Numbers don't mean anything other than the algorithm, like you said. Like I
Yep.
said, I got lucky, you know. In the YouTube witchcraft community, I don't know what happened. All of a sudden I'm getting lots of subscribers. I'm like, this is amazing. Um, but you have to keep it real and understand that that doesn't mean that these are more valid. It just means it was a
Right.
moment with the algorithm for some of us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to do right by it.
Right.
We appreciate what's happened to us. We're grateful for the opportunity. We're trying to do our best.
Yep.
And you're some days, you like you said, you're like, just cut me a break. I'm trying hard.
Yeah.
You're
Yes.
young, you have kids, you have a whole life ahead of you, you know, and having people coming in with, passive aggressive behaviors and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, I don't have time for this,
Right.
you know. Do you know that there are this older uh practitioners out there, in the conjure community who do think that you are a wonderful, bright, sparkly, you're part of the next generation. And we're so proud that you're out there doing your videos. All right. So, I want to hear this one from you.
Okay.
What would your practice look like without the social media influence of other creators?
I think my practice would probably still look rather similar because I started my practice based off of things I had heard as a child that I did not know could be considered magic or witchcraft at the time. I chose to be witch. I chose that later. But those practices are followed by so many people who are not witches and um do not consider
Yes.
it magic, and that's fine. I took it a step further. um and I started my practice primarily with books rather than relying on like witch talk or anything like that. I've gotten inspiration from it. I've, found benefit in it. But it probably wouldn't look a whole lot different than it does, honestly.
This isn't fair because I'm old school. By the time I got onto social media, I was doing my thing for decades. So, um, probably look the same. I don't know. I don't like what you're saying. I don't think it's influenced me so greatly that I even am
Right.
aware of it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to discount some subconscious, unconscious thing, but at the same time, at this point, I'm not aware of that influence ever. Well,
Yeah.
it's something, I mean, sometimes I'll watch it and I'll be like, well, aren't I lazy? And that's the only thought I have. I'm like, I ain't changing it. I'm just never going to do it like you're doing it. I
A lot of
respect
extra
what they do.
steps.
Well, I respect. I'm like, yeah,
Oh, for
that's
sure.
cool
For
that
sure.
you really got it. I'm thinking, yeah, I don't do it like that. you know, and it does not make me feel like I need to go do it like that. I just appreciate, you
Mhm.
know. All right, next one. What are some of the this is what are some of the dangers of the current phenomenon of capitalizing off the witchcraft community?
Mm.
All the
Um,
money, money, money we have capitalizing off community. Probably, yeah, more so than I've ever seen in my lifetime.
yeah. Um, one area I get the ick a lot with is crystals specifically.
Oh,
And the ethics
it's me.
behind
It's me.
mining the majority of our this does tie back in my evangelical years. Y'all forgive me. I spent several months in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Oh,
And so
wow.
so I saw firsthand, I mean, not even just crystals, that our phones and our electric cars and where that power source is coming from, and working with the children who are mining those things for us so that we can shine them up and put them on our altars. And yay, magic, but child labor. I think we have to be, I try very hard to be very, very, very careful um when sourcing anything. Um because the whatever intention I'm wanting to use with that, does it really cancel out the fact that, a baby can't go to school because they're digging rocks for me? You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm just sitting here nodding my head. I'm like, say it louder to the choir. Um, on that thought, because you were, talking the Republic of Congo. I mean, Madagascar is another large mining area that counts on child labor almost exclusively in the
Mm-hmm.
mines. And if you would like to look at your beautiful piece of rose quartz, there is an 80% chance that it is from Madagascar.
Yep.
And that we have worked around tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our suppliers know damn well they're turning a blind eye to this, and it's up for us. This is back what we were talking about. When you know better, you do better.
Mm-hmm.
When you learn better, you do better. It's not about sitting there going, oh my God, I'm using all this stuff. No, it's about what are you going to do tomorrow?
Yep.
And how are you going to make sure now that you know better, you move forward and you're not part of this? I lived in Southern California, just moved. My husband and I moved out there for several years. Southern California is where white sage grows
Mm-hmm.
on the side of the road. State
Mm-hmm.
maintenance mows it. It's like a freaking weed. The problem is that all of these illegal harvesting that is going on protected lands in our
Right.
national park, and they're not harvesting it because when we get into reservations, they have the sage fields and they're carefully, sustainably harvesting it, clipping it nicely,
Mm-hmm.
taking out, pruning, shearing type things. And then they use that as opposed to people who run into the parks at night with a big knapsack, grab whole
Right.
bushes, and are throwing it in to get white sage. Again, if you are shopping at Zipporah, if you are looking at a sage bundle, odds are it was obtained illegally.
Mm-hmm.
The powers that be have learned to move around the different certifications, different
Mm-hmm.
ways in which to introduce it into the system, how it gets to the warehouse, who certifies what. All right, this is all documented. Y'all can go down your own rabbit holes. Don't believe me. All right, please don't believe me. Go find out for yourself what we're talking about. How horrific so much of what we are aesthetics, our
Yes.
magical items, our herbs, our crystals, everything we're using. Pay attention, witches. And I know that was a little bit of a rant. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I do not
Also,
apologize.
just go outside. Like, just go outside and you can find great substitutes for literally
It's a little bit.
everything. And just, yeah, learn the weeds. Go out, take pictures. You take a picture of a weed outside on an iPhone, a little circle will pop up on the bottom and you can click it and it'll tell you what it is. And then you can Google that and find out what it's good for. Just
I love that.
please go outside. Just walk outside. Walk outside. Touch the
Plant
grass. Collect the
identifier.
grass. Yes.
Oh, yes, OM. I was a moment of this is the best technology ever. Plant identifier. You can sit in your yard lost for hours just learning.
Yes.
Oh, it's amazing. I love that. That's why I'm like, oh, I like 21st century. I don't want it to be the way it used to be. I like these features.
This is easy.
All right. Used to, we didn't have access to everything as quick as we did. We had the Encyclopedia Britannica on the shelf, and if we were lucky, our parents got the subscription to the yearbook every year to keep it updated for us. That's the world I grew up in. So I'm like, press those buttons, lean in. It's great. Okay. Next one on money. Should there be paywalled communities and online courses?
See, I do personally, I have a Patreon. I only charge $5 a month for it. And that was something that was requested of me by a lot of my followers. I feel comfortable charging that amount because I mean, for a lot of people, for whoever's willing to pay it, that's they're willing to pay that.
We're still learning. It's content creation is work.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of work. I mean,
we're still learning that. We're
so many
learning.
hours.
We're still learning that. And, you know, just because you're a content creator doesn't mean you're great at marketing or that you're a great salesman.
Yeah.
And you didn't come as a content creator with how much money can I take off of everybody I got near.
Right. Right.
But at the same time, you still have electric to pay. You still got to go grocery shopping. How do you find fair is what you're working with. I think you're doing a good job finding fair. All right. I have paywalled communities. I have subscriptions. All right. Put $1 in the box. That's my attitude.
Yeah.
All right. Ain't nothing.
I mean, it's labor. It's labor.
And not being obnoxious. I like the fact that you keep it real for people to be able to contribute. It's not about getting rich and charging obnoxious amount of money. It's about keeping it real.
Yeah.
All right. It costs for me to show up somewhere. If I do it in person or if I do it in virtual realm, there is still a whole thing going on behind. As we talked about, you only get a little sliver. All right. Yeah. And I want to keep showing up. All right. But I can't afford to keep paying for the gas myself. Right. And y'all want me to keep showing up. Can you please contribute to the gas so I can show up for you?
Right.
All right. That's why I'm like, dude, all I'm asking for is some gas money. I'm keeping it real. All right. I'm not out here trying to tell you I'm some special guru goddess doing a $5,000 workshop.
Exactly. I mean, most people are not getting rich off of this. We're just trying to offset some costs and cover our time.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, barely cover our time.
Yes, ma'am. And that's how I feel some days where I'm just like, oh, ow, that hurt when I start getting some of the bills in. And then you start taking into account how your entire day is scheduled around things, you know. Yep. I mean, it just goes on this list. It is behind the ground. All right, we are at the conclusion. We did it. We're at the conclusion. All right. What are some topics of conversation I'd like to see more of in our community?
Oh gosh. I think as a community, at least from the spaces that I'm involved in, I think we do a decent. You know what? I'm going to change my answer. I think we need to just maybe be kinder. I intentionally don't follow along with like witch talk very much, because it scares the hell out of me. It's
It
I've been
scares me
recently
too.
I've
It
been
scares
recently
me.
informed that there's some witch wars or something going on. I'm like, please leave me out of that. Um, just yeah, just we're lacking. I'm noticing that we are beginning to lack on some just basic human decency and kindness towards each other. We're each other and like new incoming people. And part of that is probably because at this point, at 2024, we've been doing it for, X amount of years now. And it's like, oh, we don't want to do this again. I don't want to explain to you the basics again. Go look it up. But maybe like chill a little bit and like let's let's be a little cooler to each other. That's my biggest concern is people are seeming to be a lot less cool to each other online
Uh,
recently. Like,
I don't as we talked I don't have high engagement on TikTok, so I really don't know the community. I do catch whiffs of it. Occasionally somebody sends me something and I act like I didn't see that.
yeah,
It's my general go-to. I do not engage, I refuse to. It's just no good comes of it. It's how I
no,
feel. I just nothing good comes of it, and so I'm not going to participate. But again, I'm coming in as that older witch, been there, done that. I done laid in the ditch drunk. All right, so I have a whole different thought process in my head with some of the different things that I see, whether the community I've seen for the past 40 years cycle.
right.
TikTok's just finding out about it. Like, oh no, honey, you weren't in the witch wars of the 70s. I heard stories. I came in the 80s because you're coming out of satanic panic.
Mm,
Oh, the community
I
was
can't
in
imagine.
the community's been in an uproar. Like I said, when I was talking earlier, if we really go back into
Hmm.
history, you get three magical practitioners in a room together and somebody's going to hiss at somebody. I wish I could talk higher of our community. you
I
know,
believe it. I believe
I
it.
wish I could say good things about us. And I agree with you. We can do better. There's definite room for
Yep.
improvement. And one of the things is don't stir the damn cauldron. Get your hand
Yes.
off the spoon and back
Yes.
away.
I get
All
asked
right.
a lot to weigh in on things, and I'm just like, no, no. I am solitary for a reason, and that's because it's peaceful over here by myself, and I can make things work on my own, and that's fine with me. It's not that I don't appreciate community, and I do like to engage with the few witches that I have met and feel like I can trust now. Um, but I'm just not gonna get involved in the crazy y'all got going on. That's why. Why? Like, no.
The House of Witchcraft is part of the lineage tradition of folk witches. We carry documentation over 100 years.
Uh,
We've never made a public statement in 100 years. All right. When people ask, like, what's your tradition about? And I'm like, keeping our goddamn mouth shut is what it's
Yep.
about.
Yep.
I mean, you send us stuff like we're going to weigh in. We carry no authority. I
Yep.
mean, the House of Witchcraft has got several covens underneath it. At this point, it's sort of, I step back with the concept of several hundred witches. And you send me emails that, you need to say this, Taryn. No, I don't. No, I don't.
If I'm not directly involved, I'm not going to speak on it. No, thank you.
I wasn't there.
Right.
Don't know. All right. You're not looking for a resolution or a solution. You're looking to come and get your army together. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not part of your army.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My organization is not. Back to, the Lidum philosophy. I do not care if you go out and, make your video calling me a cult leader. Lidum. I don't care. I'm not affected by it because I choose not to.
Yep.
All right. I'm not going to get drugged into any of this drama, this witch talk drama. I'm very much aware of it. What I find fascinating is it's like the same people seem involved in the next one. It's like this ongoing soap opera of stupidity some days that I'm just like, yeah, I don't watch that stuff. I worked hard to get that crap off my TikTok feed.
Yep.
I watch dancing chickens and singing cowboys. And I watch you. And I watch some cute other, magical folk that are like you, that are staying on the edges, the peripheral sides. Y'all ain't up in it.
No, I prefer to be on the hedge. In all
You know?
aspects of life, keep me on the hedge.
And I appreciate that, where I sit and watch, because you can sort of tell. You watch a couple of things, you'll be like, oh no, I don't need to.
Yeah.
But you watch folk and you realize, that they're not part of that. And the best thing I would tell all of you folks, swipe, block, delete, whatever, just get it off your feed. Don't participate. Even watching it is participating.
Yep.
All right. Just don't even, block that account. Don't ever see that again. Go find those dancing chickens. They're very good. That's make you happy is what I'm saying. All right. And next we have the last, second to last question. I'm like I know it's been getting long, witches and other wonderful magical beings. And I thank each and every one of you for staying through this fascinating conversation. I am so enjoying listening to Savannah's perspective, that young, beautiful, bright, sparky magic person. All right. Who are some community members that you look up to as reliable resources and aspirations?
Oh my gosh, I should have written people's names down for this.
Now you're going to get in trouble.
Oh man.
All the good ones.
So because my niche is, well, it's not a niche, it's several niches smashed together.
It's several things that you overlay, whether you realize that your world is growing bigger.
Yeah. Dana Newkirk I'm a total fangirl, and it's gonna get irritating for her to keep hearing me say her name, I swear. As far as witchcraft and the paranormal go, any source she puts out, I am immediately going and checking into it. Who else? I'm trying to think of specific handles, and go figure, they're just dang it.
All right, I'll
That's a
cut
hard
you
question.
a break. I'll cut you a break here, and when you can think on it while I talk a little bit.
Okay.
Y'all know, at my deepest heart, I'm an academic type witch. I love a cited source. So I would, of course, say Angela Symposium, a YouTube channel. It's Dr. Angela Puka, who is one of our premier folklorist, occultist, academia smart pant people. Rates right up there with Ronald Hutton. All right. She actually studied under Ronald, and she has a YouTube channel. And anytime she puts out something, I go and watch it. I also enjoy Corey Hutchinson. He's an American folklorist, academia type. He has the New World Witchery podcast. And I can't think of his co-host, and she's a very nice lady, and I met her. So don't feel too bad, Savannah. I'm getting put on the spot. But Corey and his co-host have a great podcast. And again, this is a good place to get. He put out the book New World Witchery. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, Savannah. It is a great book dealing with the folk magic that we have here in America and explaining our differences. As you had spoke earlier, your Appalachian folk magic, I'm low country Southern conjuring folk magic. And so we do have some very synchronistic similarities, but if you really get into our practices, you find out that we are quite different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even our Southern accents are actually different because I can hear your mountain.
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely.
You
The
know,
amalgamation going on in here.
is that what that is? Because I'm like, I can hear that mountain folk twang is how I did, because I was like, I think we dropped down some of our syllables a little lower. I would tell you, your reliable sources, back to discernment, eyes wide open, check out people, don't be afraid to Google them, you know, and really pay attention to what have they given to the community. All right, not, you know, a lot of times flash is easy to pay for, you know, and you can go buy followers from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody with a large account doesn't mean they actually have engagement, doesn't mean they have
Yep.
people around them. It means that they've created the I'm spending a weekend in Paris while they're really in their, you know, apartment in the Bronx. All right. You don't know us. Go check us out. Any content creator. All right. I don't know how cute, homespun, down home, authentic, all those were until you check them out, you don't know. Do not send money. We do not ask you. We're not going to select you. The angels do not give us to tell you. Um, I've heard some of them where I'm just like, whoa.
Why did you think that was true?
All right, we're not doing that. All right, we do have people reach out to us. We like that for the most part. And there are certain circumstances where we will try to help to the best of our ability, you know, but don't take it personal if we choose not to, because we're trying to have our own discernment on am I wise enough to answer this? Am I have the knowledge base to be able to do this? For me, even at 60, there are things I'm like, I am not the smartest witch in the room, nor will I ever be. I got some good things I'm smart at, and I'm also smart enough to know to go sit next to the other smart witches who know other stuff.
Should
All
never
right.
be the smartest witch in the room, or you're in the wrong room.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. It's about being smart enough to go sit next to folks who know things
Yes.
and leaning in and listening to them. No one person is going to have the answer to anything. You're going to find your own paths are going to come about from a lot of different stories, a lot of different experiences. So get out there and have them. Turn off YouTube, turn off TikTok. And get out there and live your life and dig in the dirt, find out what's in your backyard, I guess is how I feel about the entirety. Because it's like, what are your conclusions on this now that you've answered these questions? Any last thoughts?
Yeah. Don't rely on us so much. Like, don't. We can't give you all the answers, and we can't do the magic for you. We can't do the magic for you. You
Yeah,
have to,
that's
you're
like
gonna
a
have to do that.
t-shirt. You need to put that up on a t-shirt, Miss Savannah. You know, that's what I was talking about earlier. I do not in any way believe I can teach anyone magic. I believe I can inspire, empower, and encourage you to find your magic.
Yes. That's something you absolutely have to dig out of yourself and you have to tap into. And you have to figure out what does resonate with you. You can't take every single thing you see and try to just smash it all in. Some things just don't work. They just don't work together.
And that's it. Patience. I know, you know, I've been on this path just a little longer than you have. And I'm grateful for my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, my 50s. And I'm leaning into a whole new different generation. Um, but I look back and I think the most angst time period for me was my 20s.
Yeah, it's not
I,
fun.
I think 20 is hard. It's this really in between liminal child adult
Mhm.
space, who we enter our 20s as. Because you think about that 19, 20-year-old versus who you leave your 20s as, that 39 or 29, 30-year-old. These are two different people.
Completely different, wildly different.
And giving yourself permission to allow that to happen.
Mhm.
I don't who I started, who I ended. And I see it around me with so many of the other young witches and magical beings. This is such a time of really finding yourself, your space, and also all these experiences coming in. And when we
Mhm.
say experiences, we often think of warm fuzzies. All
No.
right. And experiencers are mostly traumas.
Yeah.
All right. Because that's where you get the good stuff, the good wisdom from, you know. But it is a very tumultuous time period. And so keep up the good work. All right. Allow yourself to be fun and goofy and serious and all of that. Don't limit yourself. Don't put yourself in a box. You inspire so many of the young ones. And I know the old ones like me, I look and I said, you're the next generation. I'm just like, yes, we have figured it out. We're still out there teaching, we're still out there experiencing and sharing. And we need to, even with all of that yuck going on. What has kept magic going for thousands, eons of years back into the mist of times is the fact we run our mouths.
Yep.
That's it. They're like, it's an oral tradition. No, honey, we run our mouths, is what it is. And so run your mouth, Savannah.
Thank you for the encouragement. I really need it, honestly. Honestly.
I'm so happy. And with that said, witches who watched to the very, very end, I want to thank each and every one of you for all of your support. And I hope that this gives you a little more insight into our world, hearing an old witch, hearing a young witch talking about their perspectives. And of course, if you're interested in what I'm doing, please go to houseofwitchcraft.com. And from there, it'll take you down my rabbit hole. And if we are interested in Miss Savannah, where do we go?
Oh, I'm on TikTok at That Witch Up the Holler and on Instagram at It's That Witch Up the Holler.
I would hope all of y'all go check her out and let her add a little sparkle to your day. And with that said, witches, get out there, fly those brooms, have a bright, blessed day. And as always, amen, blessed be, ashe, and a bobo.